Hey guys, what's up? My name is Owen Shields for runandonce.com, and we are here with a new course called Multi-Table Tournaments from the Ground Up. As it kind of says, this course is all going to be about taking you to the point where you're going to be really, really confident playing multi-table tournaments, that format of poker. So let's have a look at what we're looking to do with this course. So the aims of it is to take you from being a beginner or whatever level you are to being a really solid MTT player. So perhaps you've played some poker, you may have played some cash games, some other forms of poker, but not really dabbled too much with MTTs. And we want to give you the solid grounding in the fundamentals. And that's how we're going to do this course, is to give you really solid fundamentals in every aspect of tournament poker that you're going to need to become a really winning player. So, yeah, like I said, you might have played some other forms of poker but not be too familiar with multi-table tournament poker, or you may actually be familiar with multi-table tournament poker, but you think that you have room for improvement, as everyone does. And the aims of this course is to give you solid fundamentals in each area of the game so that you can go ahead and play MTTs really confidently and be a winning player. The caveat to that is that you're going to have to do your own independent study alongside this course. Now, this course is going to give you, like I said, the solid fundamentals and the understanding of each situation, so that you're going to be able to take those fundamentals and apply them to every other situation that you can come up with in MTT poker, because every spot in MTT poker is different. Because we have different stack sizes, different levels, different stages of the tournaments, all those kind of things. But if we break it down into small little bits that we can learn, slowly, piece by piece, you're going to gain that confidence in each area to know what is important in each situation. So, how is this course going to run? Well, we're going to start off, and each section is going to have a few different videos in it, a few or quite a few in some situations. But we're going to start out with the intro and basics, just getting you started with how MTTs work, what's important just going into MTTs. And then we're going to go into pre-flop play. So this is going to be all about perfecting pre-flop play. So ranges, how to approach different stack sizes, all that kind of thing from a pre-flop perspective. Then we are going to go on to flop play and turn and river play. Each of those will have their own sections with multiple videos, because there are so many different situations that come up and we need to be on top of all of them as MTT players. We're going to do some ICM, which is this kind of, it's not unique to MTTs, it's unique to multi-table tournaments and sit and goes. But ICM, it will go into more detail about it later, but it stands for Independent Chip Model, and it basically dictates how you can play later in the tournament when money jumps get bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to talk about the late stages. So when you get short-handed, quite often people are going to be fairly comfortable playing 9-handed, playing 6-handed, but when they get to 4, 3-handed, and then heads up, they're not going to be quite so confident. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then there's just going to be a miscellaneous area as well, which is going to be all about general things to think about as an MTT player, like bankroll management, that kind of thing. Okay, so we are going to do now a short section about how MTTs work, how they differ from other formats of poker. So if you know how MTTs work, you've played quite a few, you understand the basics of them, you can probably skip this section. But if you haven't, if you really want to know how MTTs work compared to cash games, for instance, then this is a section for you, and don't turn off yet. So what are the differences between MTTs and cash? Well, in a cash game, generally, you will sit down, you'll pay your, say, $100, and if the blinds are 50 cents a dollar, you will get, well, basically $100. And if you win $15, you'll have $115. If you lose $15, you'll have $85. That's how cash games work. I'm sure you're all aware of that. In a tournament, it's different. If you take that same $100 and you pay an entry fee of $100, usually the site will take $10 of that, say, usually about 10% as the rake. And the rest of the money goes into the prize pool. And say 100 people enter the tournament, there's going to be about somewhere between 10 and 20% of the field get paid. So for your $100 in a tournament, you get given X amount of chips. That could be 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. Doesn't matter. All tournaments are different. You'll get a set amount of chips that everyone else will also get. And if you win those, say you double your stack, you still haven't actually made any money. But if you lose your entire stack, you have lost your $100. And the only people who make money in MTT tournaments are that top 10 to 15% of people who get paid. So, yeah, that's kind of the slight difference. Well, it's a big difference, obviously, between MTTs and cash. The other big difference is that multi-table tournaments have different stages. So you're going to have the early stage where everyone has just bought in, everyone has been given their chip stacks, and the blinds are quite low. And what happens with multi-table tournaments is that every 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever the blind level is, the blinds will increase. So you'll start at, say, 10, 20. So with a 3,000 chip stack to start with, you have 150 big blinds. And then 10 minutes later, the blinds go to 15, 30. So now if you have your original stack, you only have 100 big blinds. And so on and so on. They'll move to 2040, 2550, 4080. And they keep moving up at set intervals throughout the tournament. And that's how you kind of get rid of players in tournament poker is, as the blinds get bigger, you obviously have less of a stack. So you're more inclined to get your money in and people bust out. So you've got the early, the middle, and the late stages. Generally, in the early stages, everyone is playing pretty deep. In the mid stages, there's going to be some deep stacks, some short stacks, some middling stacks. And then the late stages is going to be kind of the same as the middle stages, except that you're going to have more things to think about, like when we get to the bubble, etc., like that. I think one of the main differences between MTTs and cash is that as an MTT player, you yourself are going to have different stack sizes throughout the tournament. And you're also going to have to play against players who have different stack sizes as well. So in a cash game, generally you're going to sit down with your 50 big blinds, your 100 big blinds, and you're going to play against people with generally 100 big blind stacks quite often. I mean, probably online, 75 to 80% of the players that I see, if I sit down in a cash game, have that 100 big blind plus stack. So in those kind of situations, not that every hand is similar, but every hand is kind of similar from stack size perspective. Whereas in a tournament, if you sit down with your 3,000 chips and suddenly you lose like 2,500, and now you have a 500 big blind stack or a 500 chip stack and the blinds are 10, 20, now you've gone from having 100 big blinds down to having 25 big blinds. And the way that you play those different stack sizes is very different. So this is stuff that we really need to be on top of as a tournament player. You need to know how to play your own stack size, whether you've got 10 big blinds, 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, 50, 60, 100, 150. You need to be kind of on top of all of those situations. And also, you have to be on top of playing against people who have those stack sizes, because it's not just your stack size that matter, it's everyone's stack size. And how MTT poker can get quite complicated is because in the middle stages of a tournament especially, you can have a player who's got, you can have a 9-handed table and 3 players have between 70 and 100 big blinds, 3 players have between, say, 30 and 70 big blinds, and 3 players have between 5 and 30 big blinds. That's kind of 9 different variables that you have to calculate for and prepare for. And that's why one of the most important things in this course is going to be learning how to play different stack sizes and play against different stack sizes. So one of the really interesting parts of tournament poker is the idea of the bubble. It's kind of unique to sit and goes and MTTs, where say in your 100 people buy-in tournament, so 100 people have bought in, 15 places get paid, and you are sitting there and there's 17 people left or 16 people left. So what happens is that the next two players, doesn't matter that they've made it through 3 hours of the tournament, if they bust, the next two players to bust, they go home with nothing. They don't get any of their buy-in back. They just lose their $100. Whereas everyone else in the tournament is, you know, when they get in that top 15, they're guaranteed to cash. So, you know, if you paid your $100, min cash is probably going to be somewhere between $150 and $250, depending on what the payouts are, all the way up to first place, which is probably going to be, you know, 2,000 or 3,000, something like that. So the bubble is that kind of time of the tournament where the next few people to bust, they go home with nothing, whereas everyone else they'll make a profit on the tournament. And it throws up some really interesting situations because the value of just min cashing a tournament is actually quite high, because you either leave with zero, meaning minus 100, or, you know, say you get 200 for a min cash, you end up with a profit of 100. So it throws up a lot of interesting situations where sometimes you're just trying to outlast some short stacks to get into the money, meaning you have to play really tight. It throws up situations where, as a big stack, you can really pressure middle-sized stacks, etc. And, you know, as a situation where you are a middle stack and you get pressured, and you have to know how to react to that, and like what kind of hands you're going to be able to put your tournament life at risk with. And then you've got ICM, which I kind of explained a little bit more, in that, you know, ICM is so important because say there's 6 people left in a tournament and 6th place gets $500, whereas 3rd place gets $2,000, say, and you're sitting there with 50 big blinds, and there's 3 stacks of like a 5 big blind stack, a 10 big blind stack, and a 15 big blind stack. Well, it's very likely that at least 1 or 2 of them, or even 3 of them, bust before you do. So you're in a situation where if there's a big stack at the table and they are putting pressure on you, you're in a situation where you kind of just have to allow them to put pressure on, but develop a strategy such that it's difficult for them to put too much pressure on you, which is something that we'll go into later. And the reason that they're able to put pressure on you is because the chips you gain perhaps by getting all in, you know, say you're put in a situation where you're going to win 70% of the time when you put your chips in. Well, that's great normally, but in this situation, you know, 30% of the time you bust the tournament and you leave with the $500. Well, great, you won $500, but that 30% of the time, like, how often are you just going to ladder up the tournament? It's going to be quite often. So it's kind of managing risk is, you know, is the risk of me getting my chips in here and potentially doubling up and then going on to win the tournament, is that worth the same as me just playing tight and, you know, getting 3rd instead of 6th and making $2,000 instead of $500? And these are all the kind of different things that we need to think about as multi-table tournament players. And you are going to be given the fundamentals to be able to know what to do in these situations, or at least the fundamentals to be able to go out and work it out for yourself. And that's kind of what this course is being designed to do, which is why we come to the final reminder, which is do your own work. This course will give you the solid fundamentals that you will be able to go out and play MTT poker really proficiently and profitably. But if you really want to excel, you want to take what I teach you in this course and go out and do your own work. And that way you will become someone who can really crush the games. Especially, I imagine most of you who are playing, who have bought this course, are probably playing kind of lower stakes at the minute. And those games are still really soft. There's a lot of money to be made from them. So if you actually put the work in, you will definitely get out of this course a profitable way to play MTT poker. And if you apply yourself, you can actually become a really profitable MTT player. So thanks for buying this course. I hope you get a lot out of it. I'm Owen Shields, and I will be taking you through the rest of the course. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will be back soon with the first strategy video.